Part 110. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 1122. 1 Update. Didn't you find Lu Ping? Yeah, I searched around, but I didn't see him or Wang Meifeng. Seeing that Chuxia finally discovered her existence and started to talk to her, Lin Chuxia quickly expressed her doubts. No need to ask, he must have gone out for a walk. Luo Xiaoqing rolled her eyes as she spoke. If that's really the case, do you think you still need to find him? Lin Chuxia looked confused. Yes, if it was really what Luo Xiaoqing suspected, there seemed to be no need for her to go to him, let alone any need to waver. Who dares to expect a man who pounces on any advantage he can to treat a woman well for the rest of his life? Just wait, I'll go to each house to look for you. Chu Xia stood up and said to Qiao Ying, sister-in-law, please help take care of these two little bastards. Needless to say, I was the one who brought them here. Qiao Ying smiled and kissed the two little guys on their tender cheeks. I wish I could take them with me for a little longer, but I'm afraid that after a while the old ladies will all came here. To the orchard. What? Not hearing what the little guy said clearly, Qiao Ying leaned forward and said, Nan, my aunt didn't hear what you just said. Please say it again. He said to go to the orchard. Chu Xia, who had already arrived at the door, turned back and glared at his eldest son. I can't go to the orchard today. Brother Long has to celebrate the full moon and can't go until he is finished. The little guy looked confused and stared blankly at Chu Xia. His little eyes seemed to be accusing him. Why was his mother angry? Didn't we go to the orchard yesterday? Being stared at by the little guy's big, clean, and innocent eyes, Chu Xia's heart immediately softened into a puddle of water. She immediately turned around and came back, gently hugging her two sons and kissing them on their foreheads. Be obedient, Mom will take you there this afternoon. Let's play in the orchard, okay? Yet I don't know if I really understood or if I pretended to understand. Anyway, the two little guys nodded in unison and kissed their mother back with a smile. Qiao Ying looked surprised. These two little guys are really cool, smart. Miao was only as sensible as them when she was 3 years old. Regarding this, Chu Xia was also a little unsure, so she said, they may not really understand, but they can roughly guess what I mean based on their expressions. He is also smart and sensible. If you want to be an ordinary child, you let him guess. Luo Xiaoqing said while tapping Longlong's little head with her finger, you must not be too stupid, otherwise, in the future, in the eyes of the two brothers, in contrast, no one will like you, not even a wife. Do you still remember the jokes from that time? Are you jealous of your future daughter-in-law? Chu Xia glanced at her with a dark look, turned around and went out. Over there, Lin Chu Xia was still waiting anxiously. After walking around several rooms, Lu Ping and Wang Meifeng were nowhere to be found. Chu Xia found Zhao Yulan and asked in a low voice, Mom, have you seen Wang Meifeng? Do you have anything to do with her? Zhao Yulan asked, straightening up and looking around. I remember seeing her at the door of the yard. I have nothing to do with her. It's the girl with the same name as me who can't find a boyfriend. Just the county magistrate's son. Yet Chu Xia nodded. Originally it was because the three of us were awkward together. But Lin Chu Xia went to Xiaoqing's place to stay for a long time, and her boyfriend didn't look for her, so she was a little worried about her, so I asked her to come out on her own. I looked for it, but couldn't find it. I guessed that Wang Meifeng might have taken her out, so I came over to check again. I guessed it right. Mom, why did my aunt raise such a daughter? Apart from anything else, today is Longlong's full moon banquet. Even if she has any plans, don't talk nonsense at this time. After all, she is still shameless. I really convinced her. If she wants to lose face, she won't let you persuade Lin Chuxia to give her boyfriend. She wouldn't let her father do that kind of thing with another woman. As for her, what can't she do for what she wants? Sighing, Zhao Yulan pushed her daughter, you go back to the house, I'll go out and look for it. Let aunt and mother go together, Chu Xia suggested. Farewell, your aunt has enough troubles. But Wang Meifeng may not listen if my mother goes away. She didn't listen when I went, and your aunt still didn't listen after she went. I don't want her to listen to anything. As long as she doesn't cause any shameless things today, she's like that. She doesn't give advice. I really don't want her to listen, rest assured. Of course, Chu Xia understood the subtext of Zhao Yulan's words. This was why she was anxious to find Wang Meifeng. If others discovered something inappropriate, although Wang Meifeng would be the one who was embarrassed, she was the granddaughter of the Zhao family after all. People said, can you not bring the Zhao family with you? Especially today happens to be Long Long's full moon banquet. If something embarrassing really happened, which elder in the family would be happy? When Chu Xia pushed the door open and walked in, she saw Lin Chu Xia looking at her eagerly, so she smiled at her. They are not in the yard, my mother went to find them. That's good. Lin Chuxia breathed a sigh of relief and smiled sheepishly. I'm not worried about him, I'm really worried about something bad happening on days like this. When I agreed to be with him, my great aunt didn't agree. She said that Lu Ping's appearance was not a good match. However, since I am not young anymore, I wanted to try everything. If any gossip spreads on a day like today, I feel sorry for the Zhao family and my great aunt. Of course, I am also very sad. After all, I agreed to be with him because I plan to live a good life with him. Alas! You are so confused. You have to worry about this and that. Shaking her head helplessly, Luo Xiaoxian looked at Lin Chuxia seriously, but thank you for thinking about us like this. I always thought that it was because I was worried that Lu Ping and Wang Meifeng would be together that I became so anxious. I'm really anxious because I'm worried about them being together. After saying that, Lin Chuxia quickly explained, I mean, I'm worried if they do something intimate. After all, many people in the village know Wang Meifeng. Luo Xiaoxian interrupted her, what about you? How would you feel if you found out that Lu Ping was getting close to Wang Meifeng? Are you sure now? Disappointed? After a pause, Lin Chuxia added, there is also anger. Since he is such a person, he should not come to my house to show kindness to my family. The reason why I agreed to him was because what he did when he went to my house made me think that he was sincere. Now it seems that I was really too naive. But the key point is that my parents all think that my relationship with him is finalized. If I tell them that I broke up with him, they will definitely be very sad. This is what makes me the most angry. Chu Xia sighed, actually, your biggest problem is that if someone treats you a little bit well, you will feel that you deserve it. You agreed to be with him, which has a lot to do with it. When a man and a woman are friends, it is right for a man to be more generous. Of course, he does not want you to take advantage of him. However, you do not need others to give you a little bit, you must find ways to return it. Lin Chuxia glanced at Chuxia, quickly lowered her head, and whispered, but if I don't give it back, it will be as if I got together with others for cheap. I will feel very uneasy, for fear that others will look down on me. She is just like this. Qiao Ying sighed helplessly, Grandma has told her so many times that there is no need to tell the difference so clearly. Sometimes it is not a bad thing to accept some help from others. But she always responds when listening, and still follows her own standards when doing things. If nothing else, she has been working at my house for such a long time. If Grandma gives her something, she must spend money to buy it for Grandma. A gift of equal price. Now we as a family don't dare to give her anything. It would be difficult for her to support her family with the money she earns. If we continue to mix in like this, won't she be exhausted to death? Luo Xiaoxian looked at Lin Chuxia funny, Don't tell me, you and Wang Meifeng are really two extremes of personality. Wang Meifeng thinks that everyone should be nice to her and let her take advantage of her, but you are just the opposite. If Lu Ping is smart, he will definitely choose you, but if he is confused, there is nothing he can say. Chu Xia corrected, now it's not a question of being smart or stupid at all, it's a question of utilitarianism or not, okay. That's true. Sighing, Luo Xiaoxian shook her head, don't say that it hurts my back to stand and talk. Just because he is willing to follow Wang Meifeng out now, I will reject him. A half-hearted man is not worth marrying at all. I think so too. Lin Chuxia nodded seriously, I'm in a hurry to find him. I just hope he doesn't cause trouble today. After the full moon banquet, the first thing I do is to explain it to him. Decided, Qiao Ying looked at her straightly, you were very determined when we tried to persuade you before. Now you have really figured it out. I figured it out, it turns out I was a little impatient, eh? Sighing, Lin Chuxia smiled sheepishly, it's because of vanity. I always hope to bring glory to my parents and let them win honors in the village. Li raised his head. While several people were talking about this matter, Zhao Yulan came over with a somewhat unpleasant look on her face. Before she could speak, Lin Chuxia stood up and said, Auntie, you are not worthy of getting angry over this kind of thing. As long as no outsiders see the joke, we won't be angry, okay? Zhao Yulan glanced at her daughter in confusion, what did this mean? Mom, sit down and talk. Chuxia smiled and pulled her mother to sit down, we have all guessed it, and Lin Chuxia also thought about it very clearly. It is to make everyone happy at today's full moon banquet. Wait a minute. Now, she will say goodbye to that playboy R1152. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 1123. 1 Update. The full moon banquet of the Zhao family was not as lively as usual. The Zhao family today is not the same as before. Therefore, some relatives who had not been in contact with each other for many years also rushed over carrying gifts. Some of them couldn't even recognize Zhao Yushan and Li Aiwan. It took them a long time to introduce themselves and count the elders in the family 3 generations before they figured out what to call them. If you are poor in the busy city, no one cares about you, if you are rich, you have relatives in the mountains. Regardless of whether they like it or not, no one can wait for such a big day. Therefore, when the full moon banquet was over, Zhao Yushan and Li Aiwan almost fell down from exhaustion. The next day was Daodu's baby's full moon party. Mr. Zhou, MRS Zhou and others decided to stay one night and return to City A with Chu Xia and others. With so many people staying, the Zhao family really couldn't let go. The whole family went back to Dalian village with Fat Aunt Luo Gangshun. No matter what, Dalian village was the former home of Lin Baohe and Zhao Yulan. It couldn't really be true. Not going back. Lin Baohe's feelings for Dalian village are extremely complicated. He grew up here, and no matter whether his memories are good or not, they are always kind. Therefore, as soon as the car drove to the intersection into the village, his state was obviously different. Look, Grandpa's neck is stretched longer than a giraffe, Chu Xia teased her father by poking the 2 little guys' tender faces. The 2 little guys stared at Lin Baohe seriously for a while and nodded in unison. Haha. Chu Xia smiled helplessly, do you know what a giraffe looks like? Just nodded blindly. Zhao Yulan glared at her daughter dissatisfied, don't fool the children like this. They look at what you ask them and answer based on your expression. You are really going to make them stupid by talking like this. Hee hee. Chu Xia smiled, Mom, Dad can't hear anything in his ears. I said this to him, but he didn't react at all. Tell me, Dad now feels that the air in Dalian village is familiar. It smells great and my breathing is very smooth. That's for sure, Lin Bao. He turned around and looked at his daughter with a smile. Do you think Dad really didn't hear you laughing at Dad? Hey. Sighing, he continued, you wouldn't be able to do that at your age now. It feels like this. Dad has lived here for half his life. It is impossible that he really has no feelings for Dallin village just because of your grandparents and your uncles. Regardless of whether he has experienced good or bad things here, Dad will never forget this place in this life. Moreover, there are also your Uncle Gang Shun, Fat Aunt Dagong, Grandpa, and the others. How can Dad be disconnected from this place? Dad, I didn't say that you would be cut off from this place. I just said that once you arrived here, your whole person changed. It seems that I will still have to make time for you to come back every year in the future. Otherwise, when you leave this time, you can just put a bag of soil back into the small vegetable garden, so that when you go to the small vegetable garden to pick vegetables, you will have the feeling of picking vegetables in your hometown vegetable garden. Hearing what his daughter said, Lin Bao he was really moved. Zhao Yulan was so angry that she slapped him in the face. Are you serious? It's enough to pull someone in, but it's much more to pull a bag of dirt for you. How much fuel does it cost? Do you think that's not money? Lin Bao he touched his head in embarrassment, then just pretend less and dig up a few horse planting cauliflowers and plant them in flower pots. Is that okay? It doesn't cost much gas. If Dad wants to pack it, just pack it in a bag. It'll be fine. As for the mother-in-law and father-in-law, I'll tell them and they will definitely support it. There was no room for one car, so there were so many of them in a medium-sized minivan. The Zhou family took the 7-seater large off-road vehicle in the back. Grandma Auntie and Lin Chuxia were also in the car behind. The old lady wanted to follow them to City A, and then go back to the car. Chu Xia and his family went back to the capital for a visit, so they sent their grandson and granddaughter-in-law back. As for Lu Ping, who originally came with them, he was naturally sent back, although he was reluctant. But if the master doesn't say anything, it's hard for him to follow. However, when several cars left, the way he stood behind and stared at Lin Chuxia made Chuxia almost vomit. When Zhao Yulan went to find him and Wang Maifeng, the two were sitting on the bridge next to the orchard and chatting passionately. In the blink of an eye, they pretended to be reluctant to leave Lin Chuxia. Is it disgusting? Lin Chuxia, who was sitting in the car behind, always looked miserable. Feeling uncomfortable, looking at her, the great aunt asked. Grandma, I'm not feeling uncomfortable about being separated from Lu Ping. Lin Chuxia forced a smile. I'm just trying to figure out how to explain it to my parents. They are looking forward to me getting married so that I can stand up in the village in the future. How could I have known that I would meet such a liar again? It doesn't matter to me, since I can't hear what others say anyway, but they live in the village and when rumors are poured into their ears, they can really get angry to death. Especially now that I have such a good job, many people in the village are jealous, so their words are naturally ruder. I am really worried that they will be angry. Are you willing to go to the capital with Grandma? Grandma asked. I am willing. Lin Chuxia nodded. It would be the best thing to avoid Lu Ping. Of course I am willing, but I must say hello to my parents before leaving, otherwise, they will definitely have random thoughts. Moreover, I was also afraid that Lu Ping would come to our house again to show his attentiveness after finding out that Chu Xia was not close to Wang Maifeng. I thought about it, although it is a very sad thing to make my parents unable to hold their heads up, but I can't do it because of it. This is just fine with Lu Ping. If he can treat me like this today, he will treat me like this next time he has a chance. The result of not wanting to offend anyone is that they may not get it. Of course, if he is willing, Wang Maifeng will probably agree to be with him, but with his temperament, knowing that Chu Xia will not associate with Wang Maifeng, he will soon change his goals. This is inevitable, and this is why I didn't agree with you and Lu Ping being together in the first place. Old lady, I have lived for so many years, and I still know how to look at people. You are young and have little experience. In fact, you are not too old. You are only 23 this year. Grandma will help you pay attention and you will always meet the right person. Go home and tell your parents not to get angry. Even if others gossip for a while, don't take it personally. Go. Compared with a lifetime of comfortable life, gossiping for a while is nothing. Sighing, the great aunt shook her head. Many people can't understand such a simple truth until they live forever. This person needs to have face while he is alive, but what does that matter? He can't give up the face of a fat person, and he can't give up a lifetime of saying good things to outsiders to gain face. It's such a rationale. Old Mrs. Joe answered quickly, but it's such a simple rationale, but most people can't understand it. Hey. Lin Yangkai reached out and patted Lin Chuxia. We will settle down in the village soon and ask Chuxia to accompany you. Your parents know her and with her helping you, they should be able to listen. She really couldn't hate this girl who had the same name as her daughter-in-law and who had almost taken her daughter-in-law's place in the military. To be honest, when she first heard about this, she didn't like Lin Chuxia a little. No matter what, it was a disgraceful thing. But later I learned the truth and felt that this was a poor child. Her family had not done anything to do that. She was simply being used by Xue Ligong, and they couldn't be blamed. Therefore, she is still happy to help if she can provide convenience to the other party at this moment. Thank you, Aunt Lin. Lin Chuxia thanked her somewhat awkwardly. At this moment, she felt that although she had not been a smooth child since she was a child, her luck had improved since she met a girl with the same name as her. Although the incident with Lu Ping made her a little sad this time, whether it was to make Lu Ping fall in love or to see Lu Ping's true face earlier, from another perspective, it was a good thing. In the future, when she meets a man again, she will never bump around like a headless fly again. In my wild thoughts, the car stopped in Dalian village. Mr. Zhang and Mrs. Zhang still lived in the big tile-roofed house of Chu Xia's family. When they heard the sound of the car, the old couple ran out. Seeing so many people, they were a little overwhelmed. Hello, Uncle Zhang and Aunt Zhang. Zhao Yulan got out of the car first and greeted the old couple. The grandson of Gang Shun's family is having a full moon feast today, and we are all back. We came back to the village to see how are you two elders. Okay, 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 the old lady and the old man nodded repeatedly, then hurriedly opened the door and invited everyone in. When they saw the two pink little babies, the old couple's eyes immediately lit up. Sure enough, cute babies are an absolutely irresistible temptation for older people. Hello, Grandpa Zhang and Grandma Zhang. Chu Xia said hello to the old couple and then knelt down and said to the two cute babies, South, South, North and North, say hello to Grandpa Zhang and Grandma Zhang. Hello, Grandpa Zhang. Hello, Grandma Zhang. Grandpa Zhang, okay, Grandma Zhang, okay. After the two little guys greeted Mr. Zhang and Mrs. Zhang obediently, they pouted and looked at their mother with a little emotion on their faces. What's going on? Mrs. Zhang looked at Chu Xia with a puzzled look on her face. The little ones don't seem to be very happy. I think I don't mean what I say. Chu Xia laughed. When I was at my grandma's house, I promised to take them to the orchard after the full moon party. But it was so late, so I didn't take them there and went back here directly. The two of them stared at me all the way. Isn't he still less than 1 year old? Mr. Zhang asked. It's 2 months shy of 1 year old. This is the first time I have seen such a smart baby. Old Mrs. Zhang shook her head in amusement. When my little grandson was 1 year old, he knew nothing but eating and drinking. These two babies will be able to do anything in the future. Amazing, R1152. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 1124. Second update. Grandpa Zhang and Grandma Zhang, please praise them. In fact, they may not understand everything. They just guess based on their faces. Even if you think these two little guys are incredibly smart, you can't take it for granted as a mother. Being praised by others, Chu Xia explained with a smile. Seeing the second elder looking at the two little guys, she pushed the two little guys in front of the second elder. I want to get something from the car. Please help me, Grandpa Zhang. Grandma Zhang, bring them in. How could the old couple not know that Chu Xia deliberately gave them a chance to get close to the little guy? If nothing else, after Mr. Zhou and Ms. Zhou came down to greet them, her eyes never left the two great-grandchildren, and she was immediately grateful. He smiled at Chu Xia, then turned around and headed towards the yard, holding the other. In terms of etiquette, they knew that they should be polite to Mr. Zhou and Ms. Zhou, but they were reluctant to let go. They wanted to get close to each other, and there would be plenty of time in the future. They didn't know where the next opportunity would be. Therefore, if you can catch it once, catch it once. The worst is that others will say that they are not quick. Seeing the thoughts of the old couple, Mr. Zhou and Ms. Zhou smiled at each other and walked in. Others were so rare to see his great-great-grandson. It was too late for them to be happy, so how could they blame them? Although, when they saw their two great-grandchildren, they wanted to hold them in their arms. Don't be nervous, just relax. As the car drove on the way to Lin Chuxia's home, her little face became tighter and tighter. Chuxia sighed helplessly and advised her, I can't blame you for this. Uncle Lin, Aunt Lin won't blame you. As for the gossip among the villagers, don't think too much about it. Didn't your great-aunt tell you that she will help you find a suitable partner? It will be a matter of time to regain your face. You and Uncle Lin have made it clear, they don't have as much pressure. I know, but I still can't help but worry. Sighing, Lin Chuxia looked at Chuxia and smiled bitterly, I was afraid of being despised before. If I hadn't been annulled once before, it would be okay, hey. You are taking undue responsibilities on yourself. I don't blame you for breaking off the engagement last time. Just like Yao Xinchen, if you really get married, you won't even be able to cry now. Moreover, it's not like the people in your village didn't know that later he regretted it and went to find you, but you didn't even pay attention to him. If under such circumstances, those people still take the responsibility on you, then you have no idea. No need to pay attention. Let them be addicted to their mouths for a period of time. When they get better in the future, they will naturally change their mouths and become more serious with some people who don't expect good things from them. This is basically a problem with themselves, don't you think? Yes, Lin Chuxia nodded and looked at Chuxia with a grateful face. Thank you, since I met you, I have truly experienced what it is like to live with dignity. Sometimes I feel very scared when I think about it. If I hadn't met you and my engagement was annulled by Yao Xinchen, then if someone came to my house to talk about marriage in the future, it would definitely be much worse than Yao Xinchen's. Moreover, the matchmaker will also help the man lower his worth. Who knows, I will end up marrying a peasant who is good at nothing and likes violence, and I will live like this for the rest of my life. My only hope may be to have a child, who will be able to make a difference in the future, allowing me to raise my head and live a life. So, Chuxia, you are really my savior. Look, why did you bring the topic back? Didn't I say this? Don't say this kind of thank you. Chu Xia reached out and patted her shoulder, it's just a matter of convenience for me to help you, don't always be like this, I would be uncomfortable. Just say it this time, I won't say it again. Okay. After a moment of hesitation, Chu Xia looked at the other party, explained to Lu Ping what kind of further studies you plan to do. Needless to say, he should also understand my attitude. I have told him before. If I don't accept someone, I will avoid it or ignore it. As long as I accept it, I will never have that little temper. If my attitude changes at any time, it must be something he did that chills me. After thinking for a while, Chuxia said, if you say so, maybe he will go to your house now. No, Lin Chuxia shook her head. Wang Meifeng also got in the car, so he shouldn't be allowed to get off. Thinking about it, Chuxia nodded. That's true. With Wang Meifeng's temperament, she finally seized the opportunity, so how could she be willing to let go? She really forgot about this just now. However, it turned out that their guess was wrong. When the two of them came in, Lu Ping was sitting on the Kong of the Lin family, being served by Father Lin and Mother Lin with delicious food and drinks. Near. Lin Chuxia's mother saw her daughter first and stood up happily and called out. When she saw Chuxia behind her, she rubbed her hands awkwardly and said, "Hello, Comrade Lin. Comrade Lin, please come in and sit down." Father Lin also quickly stood up to greet his daughter, and glared at his daughter. Lu Ping said you were too busy to come back, so he came back to check on you. If you are busy, you can work without worries. Why are you running away again? Came back. Who asked you to come? Lin Chuxia frowned and looked at Lu Ping, who was smiling at her shyly. You should understand my attitude. Is this interesting? Chuxia was extremely curious now. What she wanted to know most was, how could Wang Meifeng be willing to let Lu Ping come back? Early summer. As soon as Lu Ping shouted, Chuxia shivered and interrupted him. Please note that my name is Lin Chuxia, and most people just call me Chuxia, so you can call her Xiao Lin. Father Lin and Mother Lin looked at each other with puzzled expressions on their faces. This attitude was not quite right. This girl with the same name as her daughter was not an unreasonable person. Judging from the attitude of my daughter, it seems that there is some conflict between her and Lu Ping. Obviously, this person is helping my daughter to fight against the injustice. However, it is really difficult for outsiders to interfere in the disputes and quarrels between the young couple. I think so in my heart, but I dare not say it in my mouth. My daughter can achieve the development she has today, but it is all thanks to others. How can they have the nerve to do such ungrateful things? Lu Ping's face turned red. Of course he knew Chuxia's identity, and it was precisely because of this that he changed his mind and went straight to Lin Chuxia's house after Lin Chuxia left with Chuxia and his group. As for Wang Meifeng, he figured it out. Although they were cousins, they were distantly related. This could be seen from the attitudes of both parties during the meal. Although Wang Meifeng tried her best to curry favor with her, her cousin didn't even pay attention to her. Instead, she had a very nice attitude toward her girlfriend with the same name. So, which one is more beneficial to be with has become an indisputable matter. He admitted that he was a little utilitarian, but what could he do? My father is a stupid person. After he came here, everyone was full of resentment towards him. If he didn't find a talisman for his father might end up here one day. Indeed, his father's method was very popular before, but now, from his perspective, his father's deliberate thrift and busyness will definitely not work out in the end. Of course he also knows why this girl with the same name as his girlfriend hates him so much, so what he needs now is the courage to speak his mind. Can you, listen to me and tell me my thoughts? Lu Ping looked at Chuxia and expressed what he meant. Okay, let's talk. Chuxia nodded. She wanted to hear what reasons the other party would give. Moreover, she couldn't be too overbearing and always gave others a chance to appeal. Lin Chuxia's parents looked at each other, not knowing whether it was better for them to stay or stay away. Seeing her parents' embarrassment, Lin Chuxia smiled at the couple. Father, Mother, you can stay here. I have to tell you these things anyway. The couple sat down again with peace of mind. To be honest, their hearts were scratching like a cat, and they wanted to quickly find out what Lu Ping had done to regret their daughter. I said it was for my father, do you believe it? Lu Ping looked at Chu Xia and asked. Explain. My family has been poor for generations, and it is absolutely true that the roots are upright, but it is also true that we have endured a lot of hardships to survive from generation to generation. My father is grateful to the party for his development today, and is grateful to the leader and the new generation from the bottom of his heart. So he felt that he must endure hardships and work hard to be worthy of the party, the leader, and the country. This also led to his behavior becoming less and less popular. After all, things are different now. No one wants to put off something that can be done in one day for 2 or 3 days. But my dad is the kind of person who thinks that it's worth delaying a day just to save a point. To be honest, I personally think that his thinking is wrong. But I couldn't persuade him at all. He insisted that his actions and ideas were all right. Otherwise, how could he have risen from an ordinary farmer to a county magistrate step by step? I really can't refute his statement. The only thing I can do is to do my best to find a supporter for him. However, we have just arrived and are not familiar with the place. Who can I turn to? It's not that I haven't thought about looking for Secretary Zhang, but my father and Secretary Zhang have different political views. If I go to Secretary Zhang, my father will definitely be angry and vomit blood. For his health, I can't do that. When Xiao Lin went to deliver food to Director Chiao, I started to think about it. The relationship between the Chiao family, the Lin family, and the Zhou family was not a secret in the building. As long as I inquired about it carefully, I knew Xiao Lin's actual situation. To be honest, I have never thought about finding a girl with a good family background. As far as my family's situation is concerned, one day it may no longer be as glorious as it is now. I dare not bring a girl who knows nothing to start a family. This is indeed my selfish place. But other than that, I really can't help it. I hope you can understand, and I hope Xiaolin can understand. I really like you. If it was just for use at first, but now it has really moved me. You have to trust your feelings. R1152. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 1125. Second update arrived. When her daughter-in-law asked how she could finish eating so quickly, Lin Yangqiu had a helpless smile on her face. At the same time, she was even more grateful for her 2 sons' good eyesight. Following Mr. Ding's orders, Ding Junpeng went upstairs to find his wife, Li Miao, and came down to apologize to the Zhou elders. As a result, Li Miao was nowhere to be seen until dinner time. Such a loud slap on the face made Mr. Ding and Mrs. Ding a little uneasy no matter how well-mannered they were. Therefore, as guests, the Zhou family must of course be more sensible. Chu Xia was very touched by her mother-in-law's frankness. Normally, her mother-in-law would not want to tell her daughter-in-law about such things, but her mother-in-law did not hide anything. "Mom, don't worry, I will never be so ignorant not knowing how to express her feelings," Chu Xia assured Lin Yangqiu. "Mom, of course, don't worry. You're not that temperamental to begin with, so how could you be so ignorant?" Lin Yangqiu sighed as she spoke. "Actually, that child has a good heart, but he's just stubborn. You also noticed when you were chatting with her earlier that she was open-minded and had no harmful intentions, but the temper of this young lady is really enough to make people drink." Zhou Mikang snorted coldly. Her temper is purely because of her grandmother. She can't blame others. "Mom, you can't spoil your children like that in the future. Don't worry, Mom will never feel distressed unprincipled. There are some truths that should be understood by the children. However, I have to say something ugly beforehand. You can't use the tactics of your army on children. The little guy has delicate skin and tender flesh. How can I stand your frustration?" It was too early to discuss this with his mother, so Zhou Mikang remained silent. As for whether his silence represented denial or affirmation, only he knew. Lin Yangkai didn't ask further questions. Her son knew that they had only been reconciled for a few days. She didn't want to get into trouble with her son again. Moreover, she meant that if her son really decided on the direction of his education, what would she do? Damn it, you still have to cooperate. Of course, the hospital where the examination is performed is the Maternal and Child Health Hospital. As far as Sidia is concerned, this hospital is the only one with the most complete obstetrics and gynecology facilities. Fortunately, the examination results proved that Zhou Xiangping's body was not affected at all, and the fetus was developing very well. This made the group's hearts finally fall, and the smile on Zhou Xiangping's face became a little deeper. I am happy for myself and my baby, and also happy for my mother-in-law. Quite predictable. If something really happened, her mother-in-law would never be able to forgive herself in her entire life. She had such a ruthless temper. Otherwise, she would not have covered up for Jiang Shui when she knew he was not in good company. Zhou Xiangping really wanted to follow the group back to Zhou's house, but what happened just now, if she just left like this, her mother-in-law would definitely think too much, so she had no choice but to swallow the words that came to her mouth. Lin Yangkai understood her daughter's mood very well, so she deliberately stayed at the back and whispered to her, "Xiangping, I'll come back in a few days. Then mom and your mother-in-law will have a good chat and let you stay at home for a longer time." Yes, Zhou Xiangping nodded moodily. At this time, the place she wanted to stay most was her parents' house. A few days later, she felt a little unbearable. She couldn't explain what was wrong with her. She clearly knew that her husband's family treated her very well and was aware of her family's feelings. Even before, she was afraid that her mother and mother-in-law would have a dispute, so she kept trying to excuse her mother-in-law. When my mother was waiting for someone to go home, she felt unbearable. Aunt Lin, a 26 or 7-year-old girl who came towards me, looked at the couple, called out with some uncertainty, and then said in a positive tone, "Hello, Aunt Lin." "Hello." Lin Yangkai smiled faintly at the girl, "Coming to see your mother?" Yes, the girl showed the lunch box in her hand. During the Chinese New Year, the master chefs take shifts, and the food is not as delicious as before. My mother is also very naughty, so she asked me and my father to deliver food to her every day. Then hurry over and say hello to your mother for me. Aunt Lin. The girl stretched out her hand and grabbed Lin Yangkai's sleeve, looking at her apologetically. "I heard my mother talk about meeting the third son and his wife. What if my mother mentioned something? Just pretend you didn't hear your uncomfortable request. My mother was so anxious when she saw that my cousins were all getting married. She wished she could ask them to marry me off because she had some connections. Hey, she didn't listen no matter how many times I told her, I was really about to be taken away. She was furious. Jin Lan, if Auntie has the right people around her, she will definitely help you keep an eye on it. Your mother is also doing it for your own good, and Auntie understands." Lin Yangkai waved to her after finishing speaking. "Auntie has something else to do, so she will leave first." "Mom, why are you hiding from flies?" Zhou Xiangping couldn't help teasing her mother as she walked a little further away. "My eldest brother is already married, and my eldest sister-in-law is also pregnant. What are you worried about?" "I'm worried that the two of them will be entangled and unable to get rid of each other." Lin Yangkai sighed. "Otherwise, whoever doesn't want to help with this kind of thing can just help." Looking at Sister Jin Lan, she seems reasonable. Mom actually doesn't have to worry about Aunt Guo, she can still help her. Mom is not sure now. Lin Yangkai told her little daughter Zhou Zikang's previous analysis. After being stunned for a long time, Zhou Xiangping was speechless. "Mom, I suddenly realized that I am too stupid. Without the protection of our big family, I must make sure that no one is left behind to scheme against me. Mom is not the same anymore. If your eldest brother hadn't said it, Mom wouldn't have thought that way. Hey, don't worry about her affairs. Your own affairs are more important now. Be affectionate to your mother-in-law when you go back. What she needs more now is your trust and recognition. Otherwise, a mother-in-law who always wants to make up for you will also give you a headache. Josei Yangping looked at Lin Yangqiu funny. Mom, you have told me this many times. I find that you are the one who cares most about my mother-in-law now. I've known her for so many years and know what her temper is like, so I'm telling you this. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother to say it. Lin Yangqiu sighed as she spoke. It's hard for children to get married, and if they don't get along well, they will become enemies. Come on, before we were married to the Liao family, I had a good relationship with Cai Hongying, but since you married, she and I have not been able to talk to each other with an open eyebrow. Josei Yangping held her mother's arm in a flattering way and shook her. It's all because of us that we made her worry and feel wronged. Hey, is your mouth covered in honey? The couple walked further and further away while talking and laughing, but Jin Lan stood there without moving for a long time. Today's encounter is purely coincidental. When she came towards him, she saw Zhou Zikang at first sight, but all the other person's attention was on the pregnant woman beside him. Of course she knew that pregnant woman. If it weren't for him, she would probably be the one standing next to him. Of course, it might not be, but at the very least, the possibility of yes is very high. Originally, she wanted to go up and say hello, but after hesitating, she stepped back wisely. It was no longer possible to meet Zhou Zikang, and she didn't want to do something that was annoying and not good for herself anymore. Then, she saw Lin Yangqiu. Among all her mother's friends, Lin Yangqiu is the best now, which is different from what she was back then. At this age, she knows very well what she wants, and she also knows that as long as Aunt Lin is willing to help, she can have the life you want. She didn't seek to marry into a top family like the Zhou family, as long as she was similar to the Zhou family. As for marrying into an ordinary family, she had never thought about it. But now it seems that we still can't rush it. After Lin Yangqiu and Josei Yangping disappeared from the door, Jin Lan sighed and walked to Guo Caping's office. Aunt Chiao from the office next door was also there. When she saw Jin Lan, she smiled at her. Lan Lan, I'm here to deliver food to your mother again. I just told your mother that it's so considerate to raise a daughter. It's not like me. Sun Xiang only has his wife in his heart, and he doesn't remember me at all as a mother. Lao Xiao, just praise her. If I hadn't forced her, she wouldn't have come. Just let them run around for a few days, and the two of them were complaining. I finally understood that this person is worse than anyone else. Rely on yourself, Guo Caping said as she stood up and washed her hands. You two are nagging, I'll go back to the office and have a look. Aunt Xiao, please eat something too. Jin Lan had already opened the lunch box, and the yellow eggs were lying on it, which was very tempting. Dr. Jiao swallowed unconsciously. Lan Lan, is this your craft? My dad made this. Jin Lan smiled sheepishly. I probably don't have the talent for cooking. If I ask you to fry these eggs, they will burn 9 times out of 10. Let me have a taste. As Dr. Jiao spoke, he picked up a piece of chopsticks and threw it into his mouth with a satisfied look on his face. Lao Jin's craftsmanship is really good. The heat is just right. Lao Guo, you are really good. You are lucky enough to marry a good man who can cook, no wonder you look so good. That's all he has. Guo Caping came back and frowned unconsciously when she saw the chopsticks in the other person's hands. Jin Lan quickly handed the spoon to her. Dr. Jiao stayed here for nearly half a box of lunch before leaving. After closing the door of the office, Guo Caping scolded her daughter in a low voice, don't let her go after her in the future. It's annoying to death. Mom, she is here, how can I not say anything to her? Besides, in this hospital, she is the closest to you. If she were far away from you, wouldn't it be even more uncomfortable for you? Hey, Guo Caping sighed, it's all because my mother is incompetent and has caused you trouble. Otherwise, how could you still be single now and let others talk sarcastically here? I don't care. Jin Lan changed the subject. Mom, I met Aunt Lin when I came here. Their whole family came to the hospital. They left just when I came. Ours. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 1126. /U0026BP, 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 popular recommendations /U0026BP, comma /U0026BP, comma /U0026BP, comma /U0026BP, comma /U0026BP, comma /U0026BP, 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 second update arrived. /U0026BP, 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 you kid, your father and I don't have anyone to take care of us, shouldn't we? We just feel it's a pity, so we ask you. If it doesn't work, we'll see Lu Ping again in the future, boy, just stay away. /U0026BP, 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 we really can't do it if we don't give him a good look when he comes here. To put it into perspective, even if he is with you, he is only after the Chiao family and the Zhou family. But you really didn't do anything extraordinary to me and your father. /U0026BP, 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 of course, I admit that what he did was wrong, but after all, he was doing it for his family. Such a child can't be too bad. Your father and I took advantage of others. It's really outrageous to sneer at others. /U0026BP, 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 of course, speaking of it, Comrade Lin is the great benefactor of our family. Therefore, your father and I will definitely listen to Comrade Lin and will never force you to get along with him again, let alone accept what he brings and the help he brings. /U0026BP, /U0026MP, come. /U0026BP, 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 look back, mother and your father have to have a good relationship with your brothers and sisters. If you encounter Lu Ping giving you something in the future, you must not accept it, so as not to make it difficult for you later, hey. /U0026BP, 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 Mom, you don't have to worry so much. Lu Ping is not as persistent as you think. You can't completely believe what he said. Why did he like me when he saw me for the first time? Don't believe it? /U0026BP, 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 I am not as good looking as Comrade Lin, how could he fall in love with me at first sight? It is still possible to have a good impression. The most important thing is because I know the character of the Chiao family and know that I am close to him. If anything happens to him, the Chiao family will not stand idly by. /U0026BP, 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 furthermore, Comrade Lin's generosity is also well known in our area. She will be kind to anyone who treats her well. She was able to help me at the beginning, but if I encounter difficulties, he will definitely help me. This should be what Lu Ping really values. /U0026BP, 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 you two elders think that he is really as innocent as you. If that were true, how could it be so easy to find out the relationship between the Chiao family, the Lin family, and the Zhou family where I live? /U0026BP, 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 now you can see what you can't get from me. Basically he will never come to our house again. I think it is still possible for him to get up and find Wang Meifeng now. /U0026BP, 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 Wang Meifeng is the daughter of Comrade Lin's aunt's family, but the relationship is not close enough. However, no matter what, Wang Meifeng and Comrade Lin are still related by blood, and now she wants to marry into the Lu family go. /U0026BP, 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 as long as Lu Ping extends his hand to her, she will definitely agree happily. Of course, if the Lu family is like Lu Ping in the future, there is no way Wang Meifeng will share the joys and sorrows with him. /U0026BP, 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 hey. Mother Lin sighed, I didn't expect that there are so many twists and turns. Forget it, if this is the case, it's not a pity. Our family is all stupid. People, if they really fall into the trap of scheming, they may lose their lives without even knowing how. /U0026BP, 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 her father, after hearing what I said, do you feel better? You won't worry about this or that anymore and think about bad things, right? /U0026BP, 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 Father Lin just snorted and said, you know so much, you don't know when NIER will be able to find a suitable in-law. /U0026BP, 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 Dad, Grandma Chiao wants to help me find someone. I will pay attention to it myself in school. Don't worry, I'm not stupid. I won't take the initiative to find someone suitable. Lin Chuxia smiled at her parents with a flattering look on her face. Father and Mother, just take it easy and don't worry about anything for me. When the time comes, I will naturally come back with a son-in-law who will satisfy you. /U0026BP, 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 that's good. Mother Lin smiled so hard that she couldn't see her teeth. But no matter what, our family's fortune has really turned around in the past 2 years. Fortunately, my mother asked you to call me this name. If I had listened to your advice, our family would not be so lucky. /U0026BP, 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 Mom, you are definitely the wisest in this matter. Lin Chuxia patted her chest with fear on her face. Her grandmother had named her Lin Hua before. She didn't think so in the village, but now that she's in the city, she realizes that the name is as earthy as it is earthy. /U0026BP, /U0026BP, U0026BP, U0026BP, and just as her mother said, if she called her Lin Hua, there would be no chance of being used to replace Chu Xia. Naturally, there would be no chance of being helped by Chu Xia. So, let's get to the bottom of it. Her mother is the main contributor to the great changes in their family. U0026BP, 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 here the family relaxed their burdens easily, but over there Lu Ping was really convinced by Lin Chuxia. After leaving the Lin family's door, he decided to go find Wang Maifeng. U0026BP, 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 ride a donkey to find a horse. If the horse can't find sex, just keep the donkey. Anyway, you can't get any benefits. This is what he is thinking now. He knows that if he does this, he will be despised by Lin Chuxia. But there is no way, he must take a gamble. U0026BP, 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 of course, he will not bet his whole life for Wang Maifeng. He still wants to use Wang Maifeng to test Chu Xia's attitude. If it succeeds, it will be considered that his bet is right. If not, he just calmly persuade your father to change. As long as he tries his best, if he still can't change in the end, there's nothing he can do about it. U0026BP, 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 when I returned home in early summer, I heard constant laughter in the house. When I opened the door and went in, I saw that several people with close connections in the village were here, and the hall was full. U0026BP, 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 when he saw her coming in, he was showered with compliments. U0026BP, 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 fortunately, now it is like this every time she comes back, and she has already adapted to it. Therefore, she just responds one by one with a smile, and she is not particularly uncomfortable. U0026BP, 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 it was the first time for a pair of cute babies to see so many people crowded into a room. The tone of their words was still unfamiliar to them. They were jumping up and down with excitement, almost flying. U0026BP, 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 has Chu Chun come? Chuxia squeezed to Zhao Yulan's side and asked. Chu Chun had written them a letter since he returned last time. It was embarrassing to write a letter, so she was only concerned about this issue now. No, Zhao Yulan shook her head, your eldest brother came here with Xuan in his arms. No, now your eldest brother is much better with Xuan than your sister-in-law. The baby is all fat. After walking around for a long time, he became more agile, unlike before, who was dull and dull. U0026BP, 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 brother brings a bolt. Chu Xia looked puzzled, brother doesn't have to go to work. U0026BP, 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 when he goes to work, he takes Xuan with him. He is afraid that your sister-in-law will teach the child wrongly. He would rather be tired than leave your sister-in-law alone. Go back and see your elder brother. If you meet your uncle and the others, just say hello. Sure, Chu Xia nodded. She still had a very good impression of Lin Chudong. Although she didn't talk much, she was reliable at critical moments. She never acted out of fear of his mother or his wife. He betrayed them. /U0026BP, 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 she has always had a desire to repay kindness and revenge. She will definitely repay those who have helped her and sincerely treated her well. At the same time, she is also warning those who have no conscience. If you want to get her help, please first reflect on yourself, when you are qualified, or when you can really get what you want. /U0026BP, 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 although she also knows that this kind of reflection and correction is very difficult, but as long as 1 out of 10 can do it, her efforts will be considered worthwhile. What are you two whispering about? Fat Ant stretched her head over and said with a smile, if she knew how lively our place is, Xiaoxian would be heartbroken tonight. /U0026BP, 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 when she came, Luo Xiaoxian wanted to go with her, but after all, it was just after the moon was out, and the Fat Ant stopped her. The most fundamental reason was that she didn't want the Zhao family's house to be deserted. /U0026BP, 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 Uncle Gangshun is not angry with you. Chu Xia smiled and teased Fat Ant, you can follow Xiaoxian to see your eldest grandson every day, but it will be difficult for Uncle Gangshun, even if you haven't been pregnant before. You are so angry that I will look for you to blame when I go back at night. /U0026BP, 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 there's nothing you can do about it. Who makes him reluctant to let go of his shameless wife? The Fat Ant spread her hands and said, if you want me, just stop working around and follow me to help Xiaoxian take care of the child, and then Hunky and Ernie get married, and the eldest grandson is about to marry again, and it's not like he didn't have the conditions before, he simply won't enjoy the blessing. /U0026BP, 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 he is a man, and his thoughts are definitely not like this. For men, family is important, and career is also important. If the career does not improve, that's it. As long as it improves a little and can show its abilities, it will be better. Hope both aspects are taken into consideration. /U0026BP, 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 anyway, it's enough for you to take care of the children. Zhao Yulan patted the Fat Ant on the shoulder, the burden you have taken is actually not light. /U0026BP, 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 Yulan, I know you know me best, but I am happy to choose this responsibility. Isn't the only thing in life that you want is to have children and grandchildren? The Fat Ant smiled contentedly. In the past, I was worried about being stupid. Fortunately, now it seems that stupid people are all blessed. There is really nothing to worry about. /U0026BP, 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 early the next morning, Chu Xia went to her uncle's house. Zheng Qiao happened to go out to get grass. When she saw Chu Xia, she was stunned for a moment. She quickly put a smile on her face and stared at Chu Xia. The pocket in his hand. Xia, you kid, come here. Why are you bringing things with you? Come into the house quickly, come into the house quickly. \U0026BP, 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 why does this term sound so familiar? Twitching the corner of her mouth, Chu Xia called out auntie with a calm expression and walked in. Just when Lin Chudong heard the voice and came out, Xia, come in quickly. Turned back and called, Xuani R, hurry up, come and call auntie. \U0026BP, 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 Xuani R, who was originally introverted, ran out with a dong dong and grinned at Chu Xia, hello, aunt. Xuani R is so sensible. Chu Xia handed him the bag in her hand, this is delicious food for you. Ask your dad to keep it for you. If you want to eat it, ask your dad. Get it for you. \U0026BP, 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 Zheng Qiao, who was standing aside and smiling, stopped laughing immediately. Didn't this hit her in the eye? Of course, it's not that she doesn't feel sorry for Sun, but there's a big difference between giving it to her and giving it to Sun. R1152. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 1127. Chu Xiaquan pretended not to notice Zheng Sanqiao's ugly expression, stretched out his hand to pinch Xuani R's fleshy little face, and said with a smile, Xuani R, do you still remember aunt? Remember, the little guy pulled Chu Xia's arm without timidity. Auntie, my father and I went to see our brothers yesterday. The brothers are so good looking. Why doesn't auntie bring them over to play? Does Xuani R like them? Of course, the little guy nodded vigorously. Xuani R likes brother Nan Nan and brother Bebe. Dad said that when Xuani R grows up and goes to college, he can go and play with his brothers. Lin Chudong explained with a helpless smile. After he came back yesterday, he kept talking about how he likes south, north, and wanted to play with them. I told him, if you want to play with your brothers, you have to go to school well and do well. He is a promising child. Once he is admitted to college and is close to his aunt's house, he can often go to play with his younger brothers. I didn't expect that he would take it seriously, haha. Brother, are you joking? Chu Xia glared at Lin Chudong. Xuani R is so smart, it's normal for him to be admitted to college. How can eldest brother underestimate Xuani R? That's right, Lu Miking came out of the house like a gust of wind and pulled Chu Xia away without anyone noticing. The water and soil in the city are for nourishing people. Our Xia was good looking before, and now she looks even more like a fairy. Look at this handsome man. But I'm so embarrassed. Come on, sit down in the room, your eldest brother is such a fool, he's so happy to see you that he forgets everything else. My eldest brother and I are not outsiders, so we don't need to be so polite. Chu Xia calmly pulled out her hand, and smiled at Lu Miking. Sister-in-law, if you have anything to do, go and get busy. My eldest brother and I will leave after saying a few words. Xia, do you still remember your sister-in-law? Lu Miking held Chu Xia's hand again. Sister-in-law was quite wrong before and was very petty. Now she knows she was wrong. Xia, you are a big master, so don't be like my sister-in-law, okay? Sister-in-law, what did you say? This time Chu Xia directly pulled his hand out openly and forcefully. There is no grudge between us. But there is absolutely no emotion. As for why, I think my sister-in-law understands, so I won't be wordy. As he spoke, he smiled at Lin Chudong. Brother, I just came over to see you and Chuan. Then I'll go back first. We'll leave in the afternoon. Brother, come over and sit down if you have time. Lin Chudong said quickly, okay, Xia. Go and get busy. Brother, there is nothing to worry about here. When Chu Xia's figure disappeared, the smile on Lu Miking's face disappeared completely, and then she glared at her husband. Why are you so stupid? She's already here, but you don't know how to get some benefits from her? With the current situation of her family, a little leakage from the cracks of her fingers would be enough for us to keep eating. Even if you don't feel sorry for me and my parents. You should feel sorry for your son, right? Yes, Shudong. It's rare that she still recognizes you. How can you be so stupid? Zheng Sanqiao curled her lips as she spoke. Those in the village who can't be pulled by 8 poles have all benefited from her. After all, we and she are the same family. Son, there is no distinction between inside and outside. Xuan, let's go. Dad will take you out for a walk. Too lazy to pay attention to his mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, Lin Chudong took his son's hand and walked out. He was already extremely disappointed with these relatives in his family. Now his only hope is to the son should be well educated and cultivated to become a talented person. As for the parents and wife, they can do whatever they want. He can't care about it, so don't worry about it. I raised this son in vain. I raised him so big that he became a white-eyed wolf. He lost his father and mother in his eyes. Why didn't I throw him against the wall in the first place? I don't need to now. I am so angry with him. Lin Chudong, who had already gone out, listened to his mother's half-singing, half-howling voice in the yard, and let out a long sigh. This is his biological mother. When something doesn't go as she wants, she starts acting bad. The problem is, this approach always yields no benefits, and she still enjoys it. He just didn't understand, why should someone give her some things when they were well off? The same goes for his wife. A good life is their business, so what qualifications does she have to let others leak something to her through their fingers? Why don't you think about how you treated others in the past? Why? Dad, why are you sighing? Xuan looked up at his father with a confused look on his face. Dad likes my aunt so much, why don't mother and grandma like her? Do you like aunt? Lin Chudong looked at his son and asked seriously. I like it. Xuan nodded. My aunt is good looking. She gives Xuan delicious food, smiles at Xuan, and praises Xuan for being able to go to college. She also has my aunt's younger brother. Xuan likes it? Lin Chudong knelt down and looked at his son seriously. Xuan, do you know why Dad takes you with him and doesn't let your mother and grandma take you? Afraid that I'll learn to curse like them. Yes. Sighing, Lin Chudong held his son in his arms. Dad is afraid that you will become like them if you stay with them for a long time. Dad doesn't want to ruin your life. So Xuan, you are an older child now. Even if your father is not around you and teaching you, you must learn to distinguish right from wrong. Do you understand? Xuan looked at Lin Chudong in confusion for a while, then nodded. It's my fault that Dad is giving you a hard time. You are so young, how can you really understand what Dad means? Forget it, Dad just needs to watch you carefully and not let you go astray. The little guy looked at his feet. 11. Xuan can't walk crookedly. Xuan feet are flat when he walks. They're not crooked at all. Dad, don't worry. Lin Chudong. Well, he admitted that what he said to the child was basically talking to a cow. How much can you expect a child over 3 years old to know? Auntie is there. Looking along Xuan's little hand, Lin Chudong saw Chu Xia standing with Lin Chuchun. The corners of his lips curled up unconsciously. This little cousin of his was actually very affectionate. In this big family, only he, Chuchun and the sister-in-law's family were sincere to the second uncle's family. Therefore, even though it was confirmed that the second uncle was not his biological cousin, Shuxia was still as close to them. Grandparents, uncles, and aunts say that it is really ridiculous that my uncle's family is ruthless. Why didn't they think about how they treated my uncle's family back then? As a human being, how can we set standards for ourselves and others? After thinking about it, Lin Chudong held his son's little hand and walked towards him. When he was approaching, Shuchun spotted them and greeted them with a smile. "Brother, are you and Xiao Shuani are eavesdropping on my conversation with the second sister?" Lin Chudong shook his head helplessly. "I don't see you anymore, so I came here to find you." "Why did you become eavesdroppers?" "Brother, are you being nagged by your aunt and sister-in-law?" Chu Xia asked with a smile. She once lived across the street from Zheng Sanqiao and Lu Maiking. How could she not know the personalities of the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law? "Hey!" Lin Chudong smiled helplessly and shook his head. "They have such a temper, and I guess they can't change it." "Xia, don't be like them. If you don't want to see them, don't go over there to look for eldest brother when you come back. Anyway, as long as he knows you are coming back, eldest brother will definitely take Xuani R over to see you. It doesn't matter if I see them or not. They don't complain about me anyway. It's you, brother. If I go, I'll probably make you angry once I go." Chu Xia spread her hands. "So I won't go there and mess with brother in the future." "Trouble? What's the trouble? Even if you don't go, they should still blame me. With that kind of temper." Lin Chuchun interrupted Lin Chudong with a look of helplessness. "Brother, do you want me to go to you or don't you want me to go to you? Of course I hope Chu Xia will come to me." Lin Chudong rubbed his head in embarrassment. "I'm not afraid that Xia will be wronged. Quickly pull me down. Do you think my aunt and sister-in-law dare to make my sister feel wronged now? Even if my sister scolds them now, they will never refute a word." Lin Chuchun spread her hands. "I have lived with them for so many years." "Well, you still don't know what their temper is like. Forget it, let's not talk about them. We finally met each other. It's such a happy thing. Why do you keep bringing up these unhappy things?" Lin Chudong changed the subject. "What were you talking about just now?" I asked him how his review went. After a pause, Chu Xia sighed and looked at Lin Chudong helplessly. "Brother, what do you think he said?" "He must have said that he can memorize books backwards and there is no reason to fail as long as he takes the exam." "Brother, you really understand him?" Chu Xia gave a thumbs up. "What he just said is almost exactly the same as what eldest brother said." Then, Chu Xia's expression became serious. "Brother, Chu Chun, no matter what happens between us, blood relationship or not, I still treat you as relatives, and I sincerely want to help you. So, if there are any difficulties in the future, don't be polite to me. I really can't help you here, brother, but Chuchun, you don't need to be so familiar with me. I just hope that you can go to the capital and be closer to us, so that we can take care of each other. As for grades and other matters, I will never interfere." Chuchun thought for a while and nodded. "Okay, I will listen to my sister." "That's pretty much it?" Chu Xia sighed helplessly and looked at Lin Chudong. "He just thought that I was in the capital, so he would never apply for a university in the capital. He said he was afraid that if his parents and grandparents followed him there, they would drag me down. Tell me, no matter how ignorant they are, if he goes to college, will the whole family follow him? Okay, even if they do follow, do you think I will really receive them? Go ahead and dream, they have completely offended me. I am good to my eldest brother and Chuchun, and that is what my eldest brother and Chuchun have earned. Why should they?" To be continued. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 1128. Second update. You. Old Mrs. Lin, who had been hiding behind a haystack and eavesdropping, walked out tremblingly, pointing at Chuxia, her whole body trembling. She was stunned for a moment, and Chuxia was speechless. She really didn't expect that Mrs. Lin would do such a thing. She would eavesdrop on the corner at such an old age, and then come out to accuse after eavesdropping. How shameless did she want to be? Lin Chudong and Lin Chuchun were also stunned and speechless. They always thought they knew their family well enough, but now they realized that they still overestimated themselves. I'm home. Write to me if you have anything to do. Not wanting to mess with the old lady, Chuxia said goodbye to Lin Chudong and Lin Chuchun, then reached out and pinched Chuan'er's little face. Listen to your father, and I'll bring you something delicious when I come back next time. The little guy nodded his head vigorously and said, let Nan Nan Bebe play with Chuan'er. Certainly. Don't leave. Seeing that Chuxia was really about to leave, Mrs. Lin became anxious and grabbed Chuxia's sleeves. Tell me clearly, where did I offend you? You want to sow discord between me and my grandson like this? Your family has found a great supporter, and you don't want to recognize this family anymore. Well, if you don't recognize it, don't recognize it. Just treat it as if we are very curious. However, what you are doing now is just a slap in the face. You too should be filial to your grandson, and the one you provoke is worse than the other. Xiao Nier, you really want to piss me off as an old woman. Since you are so looking forward to my death, just strangle me to death. Kill me. As Mrs. Lin spoke, she arched her head and bumped against Chuxia. With such a commotion, the villagers who had been watching quietly came out. Seriously, let them express their feelings about Chuxia's family. Most are jealous. He was originally the poorest in the village and had the worst life. In the blink of an eye, he became a wealthy family that no one in the village could match. Moreover, even the Zhao family and the Luo family also benefited greatly. If they were also the ones who took advantage of the glory, they would definitely not be jealous, but now you can only stand and watch. How could I not feel sour in my heart? Of course, they would not dare to go against Lin Baohe and his family openly. What if you need help one day? However, standing up to watch the fun and pretending to persuade them might give them some opportunities, right? She frowned and looked at Mrs. Lin's hand on her sleeve. Chuxia was really speechless. Could this old lady be any more shameless? It was obviously her fault. He actually made a preemptive strike and didn't care at all about his shamelessness. But the problem is, whether this old lady is right or not, she is so old. She couldn't really push her away, no matter who was right or wrong, just in case the old lady made a mistake. But something was wrong with her. Obviously, this old lady dares to act like this. He also grasped her psychology, but did she think she really grasped her weakness? Joke. Did we say anything bad about you? Chuxia looked at old Mrs. Lin with a smile. In other words, did I say anything to slander you just now? Old Mrs. Lin was also anxious just now, so she grabbed Chuxia. At first, she wanted to sit on the ground and roll around, but she was afraid that if she did that, the other party would walk away without paying attention, so she changed her approach. But when it came to this point, she was a little at a loss. Of course she could open her eyes and tell lies, but her two other grandsons are still here. If she tells lies, they will definitely stand up and testify against her. In any case, these two are her biological grandchildren, and it is impossible for the villagers not to believe what they say, so if she wants to avoid being exposed, she can only tell the truth. But, to be honest, how much sympathy is left? Mrs. Lin was entangled in the conflict for a long time without saying a word. Can't you make it up? Chu Xia curled her lips. If you can't make it up, then stop making it up and let me go. At such an old age, is it honorable to let others come over to watch a joke? Moreover, who doesn't know what your family did to us in the past? Not just in our village, but also in neighboring villages. How many people are from different walks of life? Therefore, whatever tricks you use now are just smearing dust on your own face. Others will just say, look, we are living a good life now, and they are jealous and try every means to get us to give you benefits. If we don't give them, you will frame us. You said, for people like you who only want to get and never want to give, people originally didn't dare to deal with you. If you frame me again this time without distinguishing between right and wrong, who among you will dare to interact with you in the future? Even if you don't think about yourself, think about your children and grandchildren. If you don't care what others think of you, do they really not care either? Chu Xia said, turning to look at Lin Chudong and Lin Chuchun, winking at them. After being stunned for a long time, Lin Chuchun understood it first, stepped forward hurriedly, took old Mrs. Lin's hand and squeezed it hard. Grandma, let's go home. Even if you are in a bad mood after an argument with Grandpa, you can still use it. Don't take it out on Chu Xia, right? Just like that, before old Mrs. Lin could come to her senses, Lin Chuchun had already broken open the old lady's hand and forced her to go home. Let me go, you little bastard, he actually plotted against me. I'll go up and help. Lin Chudong pushed Xuan'er into Chu Xia's arms. Xuan'er, follow your aunt. Dad will go to your aunt's house to find you later. Hey, he responded with a crisp voice, and Xuan'er stretched out his fat little paws into Chu Xia's hand, smiling shyly. Aunt, let's go home. Then he smiled at the crowd watching the excitement. Aunt, they are going to the market. Going to the market. After a moment of confusion, Chu Xia realized that many people gathered only during fairs in rural areas. Therefore, now that everyone was gathered here, Xuan'er automatically regarded the situation as that everyone was going to the market. How could everyone who had looked excited at first not understand the meaning of Xuan'er's words? They all blushed and said hello to Chu Xia, then hurriedly went their separate ways. Chu Xia took Xuan'er and walked halfway down the road, when she met Zhao Yulan, who was looking for her in a hurry. Xia, are you okay? Zhao Yulan looked at her daughter up and down with a worried look on her face. Mom, who did you listen to? Chu Xia looked at her mother funny. Look at me now, does it look like something is wrong? That's good, but I scared my mother to death. Zhao Yulan patted her chest. I went out to get grass, and happened to meet Aunt Joan. She sang to me proudly, and I knew there was nothing good. I found out after asking about it. You were actually blocked by your grandma. With her temperament, what can't she do? You are a junior, but you are so scared to death. To be continued. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 1129. 1 Update. Mom, are you still afraid that she'll beat me? Chu Xia looked at her mother amusedly. If it was before, she might have had the courage, but do you think she dares to do that now? Thinking that this was the case, Zhao Yulan smiled helplessly. I forgot that your mother is a standard bully and avoids the strong. In fact, she dares to make trouble with you now because she feels that nothing can be gained by not making trouble anyway, so it is better to make trouble. Maybe you can get some benefits. My grandparents lost their lives to save their son. Not only were they ungrateful, but they treated my father so harshly. Now they are thinking of taking advantage of it. It would be kind enough not to arrest them. Chu Xia snorted coldly and saw Xuan'er shrank back in fear and quickly softened her voice. Xuan'er, my aunt is not talking about you. Don't be afraid. I know. The little guy nodded. I'm not afraid of my aunt. Dad said that my aunt is a good person. I like my aunt, and I like my brothers Nanan and Baibai. This child is becoming more and more lovable as he grows older. Zhao Yulan knelt down and looked at the little guy seriously. Xuan'er is not afraid of Aunt. Why did you shrink your neck just now? Auntie was just like Dad when he got angry. After Dad got angry, Mom hit Xuan'er on the back of the neck. Xuan'er was afraid of Mom. The little guy sniffed. Xuan'er is not afraid of Aunt. Zhao Yulan and Chu Xia immediately understood what was going on. After Lin Chudong and Lu Miking quarreled, Lu Miking vented his anger on Xuan'er. This was a conditioned reflex for the little man. Just at this time, Lin Chudong came over from a distance, and Zhao Yulan stood up and looked at him. When he came closer, she asked directly, Chudong, when you and Miking quarreled, did you know that Miking had a tie? Lu Miking beat Xuan'er. Lin Chudong frowned, then looked at Xuan'er. Your mother beat you. The little guy looked at his father with some anxiety and said nothing. Xuan'er is not afraid. Tell Dad the truth. Lin Chudong knelt down. Didn't Dad tell you that Dad loves Xuan'er the most, and Xuan'er must tell Dad no matter what? Yeah, the little guy responded. Then why didn't Xuan'er tell Dad? Mom won't let me tell you. The little guy muttered. Mom said that if Xuan'er told Dad, Mom would kick Dad and Xuan'er out and let Dad and Xuan'er sleep outside on the road, leaving Dad and Xuan'er alone. Xuan'er froze to death. What a damn bitch. Lin Chudong was so angry that veins popped up on his forehead. I was afraid that she would teach Xuan'er badly, so I didn't allow her to take care of the child. I was a little ashamed at first, but now it seems that you really got it right. If she was really allowed to carry this, what would she do to Xuan'er? Second Aunt, Chu Xia, please help me with Xuan'er. I'll go back to Lu Mei to settle the account. Chu Xia sighed, brother, is it useful for you to find her? Lin Chudong just stood there, for a long time, and squatted down with his head in his hands. Yeah, she won't admit it even if I find her. If I accept it, I will still do it in the future. What sin did I do in my previous life? With such a father and mother, and with such a daughter-in-law, ugh. Second Aunt, Chu Xia, are you back? Brother, what's wrong with you? Following the call, I looked over and saw a 28-9-year-old woman with big braids pushing a bicycle over. There was also a little girl about Xuan'er's age sitting on the back seat of the bicycle. Sister Chihuahua. It was Lin Chudong's biological sister Lin Chihuahua who came. Chu Xia had met her twice since she came to this era, but because she looked so much like Chudong, she recognized her at a glance. Xia is getting prettier as she gets older. If I hadn't seen Second Aunt, I wouldn't have dared to recognize her. Lin Chihuahua smiled and put down the bicycle, and took the little girl down. Mao Mao, this is Second breast, this is Aunt, call someone quickly. The little girl hid back a little shyly and said nothing. This kid is so petty. Lin Chihuahua smiled sheepishly at Zhao Yulan and Chu Xia. When did Second Aunt and Chu Xia come back? As she spoke, she was also looking at Chu Xia. She didn't like this little cousin at first. The life of the second uncle and second aunt's family was difficult. A large part of the reason was that this little cousin was too ignorant. However, she was not a talkative person. No matter before or after she got married, she didn't say much about the affairs of the second uncle's family. It wasn't until the year before last that my little cousin suddenly became successful. First he became a soldier, and then he married into a good family. I heard that he is still in college and is considered a well-known figure from all over the country. But her relationship with her natal family was not very good, and she didn't come back very often. Therefore, she really hadn't seen her cousin since she left the country. Therefore, when I heard the rumors, I was a little skeptical. No matter how promising such an ignorant child is, where can he succeed? But now, when she saw her little cousin with her own eyes, she rejected her original understanding. Even though it was just a glance, she could clearly feel that her little cousin was different from before. Whether it's appearance or temperament, the whole thing gives people a feeling of being reborn. In her heart, she was happy for her second uncle and second aunt. After suffering for half a lifetime, she finally got relief from all the hardships. Therefore, it is said that kind people will always be rewarded with good things in the end. Zhao Yulan affectionately hugged the little girl who was hiding next to Lin Chuiao. The last time I saw Mao Mao, she was wrapped in a quilt, and she has grown so big in a blink of an eye. Time flies so fast. Looking at her niece who was still staring at her daughter in a daze, she asked, "Why is Chuiao free to come back today?" Did something happen?" Lin Chudong also looked at his sister nervously. "Did that bastard Lu Ziong bully you? Tell me, let me vent your anger. When my sister got married, my parents desperately asked for the bride price from the man, hoping to bring down the man's family and not caring about my sister's life or death. Therefore, after my sister got married, she basically never returned to her parents' home. Even if he came back occasionally, there was a last resort. This time he came back directly with his niece. His first reaction was that his sister was bullied by his brother-in-law, and he had no choice but to return to his parents' home. Brother, where are you thinking?" Lin Chuiao smiled and shook her head. "Don't worry, Lu Ziong is very good to me and Mao Mao. I came back today to see my brother about something. I was worried at first. I entered that door, and now I meet you here. It's really great." The cottonseed factory where Ziong worked wanted to recruit a group of temporary workers. After 1 year of good work, they could be converted into regular workers. After discussing with Ziong, I felt that this was an opportunity for the eldest brother, so we came to see him. If the eldest brother is willing, I will ask Ziong to write a certificate from the factory, and he will give the certificate to the village secretary, so that the worker brother in the village does not need to go. A temporary worker's salary is 12 yuan a month, including food and accommodation. After becoming a regular worker, he can earn almost 20 yuan, which is much better than working in the village. Lin Chudong's face was full of emotion, but when he glanced at his son, the expression on his face dimmed. I'm really happy that you can think of me, but I can't go." "Why?" Lin Chuiao looked at Lin Chudong with a puzzled expression. "Are you afraid that your sister-in-law won't let you go?" "It's impossible. As long as you tell her about your salary, she will definitely agree. It's not for your sister-in-law, it's for Xuan'er." Sighing, Lin Chudong smiled bitterly. "It's not like you don't know your sister-in-law's temperament, and you also know our mother's temperament. If Xuan'er is allowed to follow them, it will be really difficult. Raised to ruin." "Is the eldest brother taking care of Xuan'er now?" Lin Chuiao asked. "Yes," Lin Chudong nodded. "I also took him with me when I went to work. At first, my mother didn't agree, and your sister-in-law also made trouble with me. Now they are used to it, and they even wish they could have some leisure time. It's not a problem if this continues for a long time." After thinking about it, Lin Chuiao discussed, "If brother can trust me, let Xuan'er go to my place." "How about that?" Lin Chudong refused without even thinking about it. "When you married into the Lu family, our parents did such a great job, the Lu family probably didn't even want to take a second look at our family. It's rare that they don't care about your parents and treat you like a daughter, but you can't make them feel uncomfortable because of this matter. I understand your kindness. I don't have this luck, so let's leave it like this. Brother, it would be a pity to give up this opportunity like this. Why don't you give me 2 yuan of your monthly salary, which will be used as Xuan'er's living expenses? In this way, my parents-in-law will definitely not say anything. Brother is not allowed to refuse. Since I dare to say this, it means that I have confidence in my heart. My father-in-law and mother-in-law are very generous people, and they also know that my eldest brother is different from my parents. Moreover, when I married Lu Ziong, my eldest brother helped a lot and secretly gave me some of his savings. My father-in-law and mother-in-law also knew about this. They have been thinking about the kindness of the elder brother. I charge these 2 UN, firstly to make the elder brother feel at ease, and secondly, to prevent the people in the village over there from talking nonsense. If my elder brother doesn't agree with me after doing this, then he really doesn't treat me as his biological sister. Lin Chihuo said while looking at Chu Xia. Xia, do you think so? Brother, what Sister Chihuo said makes sense. If the eldest brother feels that he is owed something, he can just do more work for Sister Chihuo's family in the future. However, the premise is that the eldest brother feels that it doesn't matter if he gives up this family here. Furthermore, before eldest brother leaves, he needs to have a good talk with eldest sister-in-law. Chu Xia said while looking at Lin Chihuo. With eldest sister-in-law's temper, if eldest brother doesn't explain things clearly to her, she will probably cause trouble to Chu Yu. Over there at my sister-in-law's house. Yes, this is possible. Zhao Yulan also agreed, it's a good thing, but we still need to discuss it carefully. Let's not stand on the street and talk about it. Let's go to our house to talk about it. Lin Chihuo responded happily, okay, I haven't been to the second aunt's house yet. I heard that the second aunt's house built a big brick house. I've always wanted to see it. R1152. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 1130. Second update. What? Lu Miking grabbed her husband's sleeve. You said you want to take Xuan to Lin Chihuo's place. No. Why not? Lin Chudong looked at the woman who looked like a crazy woman indifferently. You are Xuan biological mother, and you can do such evil things to your child. Do you still have the qualifications to say no to me? What did you say? Lu Miking looked at her husband with twinkling eyes. What did I do to Xuan? You are a heartless person. You slandered me like this just to enjoy your own happiness. Do you have a conscience? It's not that you don't know that my parents didn't take a fancy to you at the beginning, thinking that you were too stupid and worthless, but I felt that stupid people were good to their wives, so they forced my parents to agree to the marriage. If I had known that you would leave me like this just to live a good life for yourself, I would have never married you at the beginning. You have no conscience, oh. After howling for a long time, but not a single tear fell, Lin Chudong shook his head speechlessly. Why did he fall in love with this woman at first sight? Why do you think the other person is kind-hearted? If there was a regret medicine in the world, he would definitely take a lot of it. He would rather be a bachelor for the rest of his life than marry such a woman, but then there would be no Xuaner. Thinking that although she was too lazy to work, she had given birth to Xuaner for herself after all. Lin Chudong sighed tangledly. I will give you 3 UN of salary every month. You just need to take care of your own food and accommodation at home. You don't have to worry about it. Really? Lu Miking stopped howling. 3 UN is not enough, I want 5 UN, otherwise you are not allowed to go. Who knows if you will find a sweetheart if you have money. If I give you 5 UN, what will Xuan do? Lin Chudong looked at his wife helplessly. Chihuo just asked for 2 UN as a token, but I can't be so unconscious. Xuan is just starting to eat. How can we let people raise children for nothing when they are young? I only have a total of 12 UN a month, 3 UN for Chihuo, 3 UN for you, 3 UN for my parents, and the remaining 3 UN for myself to spend. If I give you 5 UN, I will drink the northwest wind. It's only 12 UN, and you don't care about food and housing. Lu Miking looked at her husband dubiously. How did I hear that many factories are responsible for food and housing? Lin Chudong said, he is in charge of the factory, not the food. There was no way. He knew his wife's character very well, so he had to lie like this, otherwise, She would definitely get all the money. But he didn't lie completely. Although his sister only wanted 2 yuan, he couldn't really give her only 2 yuan. He had already discussed it with his sister just now. If he really let Juan go to her house, he would have to give her 5 yuan a month, leaving the rest. Lu Miking received 6 yuan, 3 yuan for his parents, and 3 yuan for his parents. He only had 1 yuan left for himself. Fortunately, the factory was in charge of food and housing, so he would hardly spend $1, saving it for emergencies. If it weren't for the sake of making this family more prosperous, I wouldn't want to work in a factory. Do you think I would be willing to spend time there every day? As for why I took Xuan with you, you also know clearly. He is not only my son, but also your son. If you teach him well, it will not be me who will be filial in the future. As long as you understand better, you can't stop me. Anyway, I've said everything that needs to be said. If you still nag, then forget about it. You just need to feel that you are not jealous when others spend money. Knowing his wife's character, Lin Shudong added fuel to the fire. After hesitating for a while, Lu Miking looked at her husband. Have you told your parents? Not yet. Why don't I come over to discuss it with you first? Lin Shudong frowned and glared at her. No matter how shameless you are, we are still husband and wife. If you don't agree, why should I go? A smile appeared on Lu Miking's face. Are you telling the truth? If you don't believe me, throw me down. Believe it, of course I believe it. Lu Miking moved closer to her husband. Then you have to promise me that when you go to the factory, you won't get too close to the eldest daughter and the younger daughter-in-law. Also, after you go to work, I have to go and take a look. If I find any bad signs in you, don't blame me for not saving your face. It's impossible for you not to know what kind of character I am. You won't be able to step down when the time comes, but can't blame others. Do you think it's a market? Anyone who wants to can go there? Chiwio said that no one else is allowed in except those who work inside. When family members go, they always meet and talk in the reception room outside the factory. Why haven't I heard anyone say that other factories are like this? Other factories produce cottonseed oil. What does this have to do with producing cottonseed oil? If everyone takes small bottles and steals them, do you think it will matter? How can I do that kind of thing? With your personality, you can't do that kind of thing. They are simply looking down on people. Lin Shudong interrupted his wife. Anyway, this is the rule. Everyone is treated the same. If you don't believe me, go find out for yourself. However, if I lose my job and you don't have any money, just don't regret it. This rhetoric was taught by Lin Chiwio to Lin Shudong. It sounds full of loopholes. However, because the farthest place Lu Miking has ever been in her life is the town, and she has an unpleasant temperament, the eldest girl in the village and the youngest daughter-in-law, no one wanted to get along with her, so she didn't understand many things at all, so she really believed in such a bluff. After struggling with the $3 he could get, Lu Miking finally nodded. As for Lin Beijiang and Zheng Sanqiao, it would be easier to discuss. The son was not at home to eat food, and he gave them an extra 3 yuan. This kind of pie-in-the-sky good thing, why not continue? However, the couple had strong opinions about their daughter not entering the house when she came back. This damn girl has been raised in vain. She is a white-eyed wolf and doesn't miss her parents at all. How can she be so cruel? People say that my daughter has a soft heart, but her heart is harder than anyone else's. Am I just following you? Why do you just follow me? If you want, it's up to you. Lin Shudong interrupted the couple. Father, mother, why doesn't Chiwio come back? It's not like you don't know. She is at the second uncle's house now. If you think you are justified, just go find her. Hearing what their son said, the couple fell silent. How could they forget what they did to their daughter back then? How can I have the nerve to settle accounts with my daughter now? Do you really believe it? Chu Xia looked at Lin Chudong in disbelief. As for the rhetoric Sister Chu Yu taught you, do you really have no doubt at all? There should be a little suspicion, but as long as I bluff, she won't have any doubts at all. What if she finds someone and finds out? With her behavior in the village, who understands these people, who is willing to pay attention to her? After thinking about it, it turned out that this was really the case. Chu Xia said in a funny way, so, there are no benefits at all if my sister-in-law has a bad personality. Taking a look at Juani R, who was having fun with Nan Nan and Bei Bei, she thought she sighed secretly. It wasn't that she didn't want to help Lin Chudong, it was because she had no name. Moreover, if she really extended her hand, Zheng Sanqiao and Lin Beijiang would definitely spare it. After all, Lin Chuiao was their daughter. After thinking about the mistakes in the past, they still wanted to have a little face. Therefore, it was best for Lin Chuiao to help Lin Chudong. Xia. After a pause, Lin Chudong looked at Chu Xia seriously. Brother knows that if you weren't worried about something, you would help him immediately. However, even if you must help, the eldest brother will never agree. This is nothing else. The eldest brother knows better than anyone how much this family has dragged you down. Therefore, you must not blame yourself for this matter. Big brother knows that he is definitely not being sentimental for thinking this way. When you found out that Juani R was being abused by your sister-in-law, you had already thought of helping big brother, right? Yes, Chu Xia nodded honestly. I was quite confused at the time. Seeing how hard my brother was going, I really wanted to help, but I didn't want good things to turn into bad things. Fortunately, when I was in trouble, Chu Yu's sister is back. I am really happy to see that my eldest brother and Chui's sister have such a good relationship. My eldest brother and Chui's sister also remember that if there is any difficulty in the future, just talk to me. As long as it doesn't involve other people in the family, eldest brother and Chui's sister, I will definitely help. I have no choice but to be petty and vengeful like that, haha. This isn't petty and grudge holding, it's just magnanimity, okay. Lin Chuiao pulled Chu Xia's arm with some emotion. Xia, eldest sister always thought you were ignorant in the past, but now it seems that you are the most sensible and generous one in the family. In the past, I always felt that my second uncle and second aunt were spoiling you. I was hurting you, but now it seems that it was all my fault, and you deserve to be pampered like that. Ahem, actually what you said is right. Muttering to herself, Chu Xia smiled at Lin Chuiao. Thank you for the compliment, eldest sister. I am very happy to be recognized by eldest sister. At this time, Lin Chuchun was at home and was being attacked from three sides by Mr. Lin, Mrs. Lin and Lin Bao Hai. However, Yang Aihua remained silent with an indifferent expression and did not say a word. After listening to the scolding for a long time, Lin Chuchun raised his head, looked at a few people, and smiled sarcastically. Even if Chu Xia is willing to help you, are you embarrassed to accept it? Think about how you treated their family back then. Now that they are doing well, you always want to take advantage of them and be a good person. Isn't that right? Forget it. If you don't like me anyway, I'll just leave. Where are you going? Yang Aihua grabbed his son in shock. Chu Chu has already left us alone, and now, you want to leave us alone too. Lin Chuchun looked at her indifferently. I just plan to go for a walk and see my uncle and aunt's family off. They are going back to Sitia today. I want to see them off, can't I? R1152. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 1131. For pure text online reading, please visit this site's domain name and mobile phone synchronization reading. 1 update. Upon hearing that Lin Chuchun was going to see off Chu Xia's family, Yang Aihua held Chu Chun's hand tighter. Chun'er, my mother has no objection to you going to see off your second uncle's family, but please listen to what my mother has told you. Mom knows that you are a self-respecting child who wants to make a career on your own, but have you ever thought about why others are left behind to serve as soldiers, and you are the only one who is unqualified? Sometimes, you will not succeed if you work hard. It is the right way to let others help you first, and then slowly work hard to achieve results. Regardless of whether you can listen to it or not, my mother will have to talk to you again. You are young and don't understand these things. Mom can't let you go. Otherwise, in a few years you will definitely regret it and blame your mother for not insisting on changing your mind. No matter who in this world will harm you, your own mother will not. I'll hurt you and listen to my mother for once, okay? If I don't listen, mother won't let me see Uncle Baohi and Aunt Yulan's family off. Shuchun then emphasized, our family no longer has a second uncle or a second uncle, and my father is the second eldest. This is clearly a reminder to the elders in the family, don't think that you can still be related to others, and don't think that you can ask for anything from others as a matter of course. Yang Aihua's face froze slightly, and he smiled helplessly at his son. Mom, I don't want to get too much credit from them, I just got used to the original name, and I don't want you to beg them. I just hope that when they can help you, don't if you refuse again. How many people would envy this kind of opportunity? You are young and don't know how to cherish it now, but the most unforgiving thing in this world is your age. If you want to cherish it in a few years, you won't have the chance. Yes, you are a boy with backbone, and dad is proud of you, but if you care too much about backbone, you are being foolish. If you become successful, it will be the same no matter how filial you are to Uncle Baohi and Aunt Yulan. Right, inspired by his wife, Lin Baohi also tried another way to persuade his son. The real thought in my father's heart is that if I become successful, how can I have the nerve to ignore you, right? Lin Chuchun looked at his father indifferently. Didn't you call me a wolf cub at that time? Now you think I am saying this, do you really believe it? Dad, aren't you mad at me? Lin Baohi frowned dissatisfied. Isn't it normal for a son to be scolded by his father? Go out and ask, which family's son has not been scolded by me? You don't have a clear mind, why can't you even scold you? You can scold me. If you want to scold me, continue scolding me. If you regret giving birth to me, you can kick me out of this home. I won't even hold a grudge against you. Lin Chuchun shrugged indifferently, you are dad, just do whatever you want. Listen, listen. Lin Baohi was so angry that his hands were shaking. This is my biological son. He is treating me like this before his wings are hardened. If he really succeeds in the future, will I still dare to point at him? Okay, don't say angry words. Yang Aihua glared at her husband and looked at her son. Chun'er, whether you listen to it or not, mother has already said it anyway. If you regret it in the future, just think back to what mom said today. Well, mom won't stop you anymore, go and send them off. Anyway, they treat you really well. Mother. Lin Chuchun looked at Yang Aihua seriously, can you tell me what you are thinking? Yang Aihua was stunned and looked at his son with doubts in his eyes. What do you mean? In our family, whether it's my grandparents or my father, I can clearly understand their thoughts and their actions, but mother. Sighing, Lin Chuchun frowned slightly. Mother asked me do not understand. Before, when everyone advised me to get closer to Uncle Baohi and his family, my mother didn't say a word, but now they suddenly advised me this way. My mother's behavior gave me a contradictory feeling. I am your son. Can you take off your mask in front of me? Yang Aihua smiled bitterly, do you think mom is treating you with a mask? This is how my mother makes me feel. Hey. Yang Aihua sighed, I didn't expect that I would be such a person in the eyes of my son. After being silent for a while, she raised her head and looked at her son. Everyone has their own selfish motives, and so does my mother. No exception. In the past, when they were your second uncle and your mother really didn't want them to get too much of the family's credit. If they took more, it meant that we had to take less. Especially since we have 2 boys in our family, getting a wife in the future will be a big expense. For the sake of my sons, I must turn my elbows inward. Unexpectedly, such a big change suddenly occurred. They became the richest family in the village, and they no longer have any blood relationship with us. If my mother said that she didn't feel anything when facing this matter, she would definitely be lying. Envy, jealousy, regret, all kinds of emotions were mixed together. When your grandparents went to look for them, Mom was also lucky. If they were really willing to miss the family ties, then there would be hope for our family. But it turns out that with the change in status, their personalities are also different from before. Now they would rather help irrelevant people in the village than bother to help us. My mother said this not to blame them, but to explain them. This change in the body. Especially in Chusia, she is a completely different person than before. Mom admits that Chusia now is more than 100 times better than Chusia before. If it weren't for her, your second uncle and your second uncle wouldn't be where they are today. Therefore, Mom is putting all her hopes on you now. Chukyu has already failed to live up to expectations. If you don't make some achievements, our family will really become a joke in the village. The family that was once fawned over and envied by others suddenly turned into a stepping stone. Mom is not willing to accept it? I believe you don't want to see that result either, right? As for when your grandparents and your father scolded you at that time, your mother didn't say a word because she didn't agree with their actions. She just hoped that you would seize the opportunity and fight for a future for yourself. As long as you are well, no matter whether you are willing to help the family or not, no one in the village will dare to look down on our family. This is my mother's truest thought, without any panic. After staring at Yang Ihua for a while, Lin Chuchun nodded, I understand. After saying that, he turned around and walked out. What does he mean? Lin Baohai frowned and looked at his wife. Did you listen or not? Then he stretched his neck and shouted outside, Chun'er, do you want them to help you? No, the voice of rejection came from outside, and Lin Baohai changed his face. You bastard, why are you so stubborn? Whose seed is this? Who else could it be besides yours? Yang Ihua sighed. Actually, from another aspect, the child's character should really be something we should be proud of. You're so proud, I'm almost pissed off by him. With a heavy sigh, Lin Baohai looked at the old couple sitting on the kong. Father, mother, why don't you go find the second brother and the others again? What's the point of looking for them? Old Mrs. Lin snorted coldly. It's not like you don't know that the one who has the final say in their family now is that damn girl. It's not like you don't know how I was sent back then. You know, why don't you let me and your father come to her door again to make her look bad? Hey. Lin Baohai sighed heavily, holding his head in worry. Don't sound depressed. Mr. Lin glared at his son. How can you survive if they don't help you? If you are ambitious, just live a better life and let them laugh at you. Dad. Lin Baohai looked at his father with a bitter look on his face. No matter how well I live, how can I live as well as my second brother? Besides, this is not a matter of lack of ambition at all. If you and your mother had been nicer to your second brother and second sister-in-law, why would you be like this now? Look at Luo Gangshun, what kind of life is he living now, and look at us. I'll beat you to death. Mr. Lin raised his pipe and started smoking at his younger son. When I gave this house to you, you didn't think I gave you too much. Now come and choose between me and you. Who did mother give all the benefits to, and now you are saying these things without any conscience? Lin Baohai quickly jumped off the kong to avoid it, and said with a look of dissatisfaction, Dad, don't talk so nicely. If Dad and Mom are really so good to me, why didn't you tell me the life experience of your second brother earlier? Why didn't you tell me about your second brother? Do you want us to share the treasure left behind by my parents? You and your mother kept the things in hand, but in the end, you have to let us suffer the blame together. Do you think they'll be nice to you now that you've fallen out with me? Mr. Lin snorted coldly. Dream on you. It's your own decision to burn down the house. Do you think they really don't know? If Dad hadn't acquiesced to do this, would I have been so cruel? The result was good. I didn't get anything and got a lot of debt. Lin Baohai glared at his father with red eyes. When something good happens, just go there, you take it all on yourself, and if something goes wrong, you push it on me. Dad, are you doing this to your heart's content? Why am I feeling so bad? You burned down this house yourself, but I actually gave it to you back then. Why do you say I burned it myself? If I burned it myself, would my father and mother take all the valuable things out? If we didn't take the valuable things out, how could you live in this house so safely now? Mr. Lin grabbed the shoes on the bed and smashed his youngest son on the head. You heartless little brat. When Lin Chuchun came back, he found that his father and grandfather were hugging each other and tearing at each other endlessly. His mother stood aside and shouted to stop without pulling. As for Grandma, she sat on the Kong and watched coldly, as if none of this has anything to do with her, or 1152. The fastest update, please read.